Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be talking about the Star Wars Legion upcoming releases, all of the new stuff that was announced and teased at Ministravaganza, including the things that weren't specifically talked about but were danced around and teased through artwork, namely those Gungans. We're going to talk about everything. So this is going to be a fun video. We're going to lay out a timeline and just go over everything in case you didn't watch the entire live streams. I didn't have time to sit down and go through all of that. Now this one isn't going to go deep into Star Wars Legion 2nd edition or the 2.6 or that new edition that they've kind of changed the rules. That's better left for other videos. We've done some rules breakdowns. We've done some battle reports of those, and I'll probably be working. A lot of you have asked me, hey, can you do a new Learn to Play for Star Wars Legion? And yes, I will be working on that. It's going to take some time because that's a detailed thing, but that's not for this video. We're going to talk about the new releases. Also, make sure you click that subscribe button. If you haven't already, we entered to win that latest $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. I want to hear what you are most excited about for Star Wars Legion coming up over the next 12 months. We have a lot to talk about in this video, so with all that said, I'm just going to jump right in and get to it. We got some previews of the Rebel Sleeper Cell. Now, these guys are a special forces. Now, these are meant to mirror the riot control, but for the Empire. But this is different because riot control is going to be core. These guys are special forces. This is largely based off of the basic Rebel dudes from Andor. So like your basic people who kind of rose up and fight the Empire kind of out of nowhere. This was initially called Saboteurs. However, they renamed them because there's already a unit called Saboteurs, or at least a heavy weapon called Saboteurs. So it would have been really confusing if you said, I'm running Rebel Saboteurs. I'm like, well, what are you running? So they call them Rebel Sleeper Cell. I like this name better. Besides, also, the way that this unit is kind of written, they don't much look like Saboteurs. They don't have anything that's doing sabotage. They are trying to get close to objectives, though. They have an astromech there that will give you a dodge token if you move close to an objective. They also have tactical ones. So when they move, they're also getting an aim token. So this is likely going to be a unit that wants to get close to objectives and is going to have an aim and a dodge with them. Scout 2 lets them get a little farther out there. Nimble means they're going to get to dodge back. Their Courage 2, they're only 1 health, but they have 6 minis in the unit. So if you add a personnel and a heavy, you are also going to have 8 miniatures, which is going to be really nice for contesting objectives. You're going to have a lot of hit points there. You have white surges, but you have surge to defense and dodges. So you'll have a little bit of survivability, and the extra hit points is always great for survivability as well. And the marksman, your heavy here, is basically one of these characters that it uses an action, but it's not an attack, but it's doing... it's doing basically damage automatically. It's kind of like an undodgeable attack. I'm not super crazy about this new formula that they've been going with for multiple things, from Din Djarin's rifle to this, and then the Empire has one of these coming up in the Riot Control Squad as well. Not super crazy about it, especially since you kind of spam these, and there's no defense against it. It's just like, oh, you just have to lose a mini, And I'm not super crazy about that, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it won't be as bad as it seems. They are only range 2, so they don't seem super great. But they have a blaster pistol shot that can work in melee and make it suppressive. So that is an interesting thing to them, although they don't necessarily... they don't want to be too close. They want to be guarding objectives, though. And if you come in, then they have the range, too. So they're an interesting spot, being special forces, but not super deadly, being kind of short range. I feel like they're competing with Wookiees for like that short range deadliness, and so I don't know if I want to take these guys over Wookiees or not. It's a tricky space to be in. I think it's more of a, what theme do you want to go with? Do you want more humans kind of on a humanoid planet, or do you want more Wookiees? Because I usually want more Wookiees. The Riot Control Squad is the other one we got a good preview of. I do really like the way this squad is put together here. This is a cool one. 50-point core, 4 to start. They do have the red defense die. They do have the 1 to 3 E11. They have a stun baton, which gives them melee with a black die and suppressive. Now, Stormtroopers used to have a black die normally. However, they were Stormtroopers melee has been reduced to white die, so now these are like a stronger melee version, which I think I was initially feeling like, oh, okay, so they didn't make this guy as good, they just nerfed everybody else to make these guys seem better. So wasn't super crazy about that, but it is what it is, right? At least it works well because they have charge and then they have hold the line, so they really want to be in melee. They're going to gain surge to hit and surge to block once they're in melee. And no, they look pretty interesting. They have 2 heavies. They've got the K series, which adds 2 of those models, and then they have the Stormtrooper Marksman, which again has that automatic damage. But I really love the sculpts on these. I'm digging so much of this stuff. This particular Marksman here, these guys are coming out soon. Dallas Kemp was just painting this guy, and came up with a really cool color scheme for him. And like these models just look really good. Really good. It makes me excited for the new Stormtrooper models, and and just basically everything that they have coming out. It looks really awesome. All right, and then we got some teasers from some more things that are coming a little bit farther out, but in the new art style. Again, this is part of like the Legion 2.0. The new edition has so many rules revamps, but also card revamps. So this is going to be the new card style. We have the Crab Droids, the LM432. You're going to get 2 in a box, but the unit size is 1, so I think it means you're going to be able to field 2. They did say you'd be getting 2 unit cards. We got a look at the unit. They've got a ton of keywords. They have decent melee, 4 dice, 2 red, a white, and a black, 5 health, 3 resilience, red defense, armor 2, which is pretty good. Climbing vehicle. They have got scout ones. They can get out there a little bit further, and scouting party, which is really cool. Scale, reposition, and then they have the they're programmed, so they're going to have to take some kind of programming, but I'm assuming there's going to be more previews for these guys yet to come. But you can give them twin blaster cannons or a heavy laser cannon as well, which does look pretty interesting. And they have surge to hit, so and there's no AI on these guys, although AI doesn't really matter anymore. It's so even if it did have AI, that's still pretty interesting. The Aqua Droids, these guys look very, very cool. They're supposed to be very tall, really, really big. So I can't wait to see more about these guys. I do expect them to have some kind of infiltrate or deployed positions or something like that. The ARF Troopers with their Jedi, their first generic Jedi in Star Wars Legion, so this is going to be pretty cool. They talked a lot about how this guy's going to have multiple build options. You can do not just like different like heads and robes and stuff like that, but also multiple lightsaber options. I think there's a double-bladed saber option. I think they have double sabers. So you can really kind of get multiple. They're trying to encourage you strongly to get multiples of these ARF troopers and build out multiple Jedi in different ways. So that's kind of fun. Although if you're really good with magnets, I imagine a lot of people are going to want to magnetize that. We got to look at painted versions of some of the reprints that are coming. The Stormtroopers look really good. Rebel Troopers look really good. A lot of head options, although we're seeing a lot of aliens in our Rebel Troopers, which I really like. Scout Troopers, this unit looks phenomenal, and I can't wait to get my hands on another one of these. And then the Rebel Commandos. My only gripe is that Rebel Commandos tend to be painted in the same color scheme that the Rebel Troopers are. You look green camouflage there, green camouflage on all the pants here, brown and green, very earth tones, and I'm like, I just want to do something different. Like make one more green, one more brown, or maybe make your Rebel Troopers black and white, or do something different. I don't know. It was always my concern is that the Rebel Troopers and Rebel Commandos seemed like it was taken from the same group of people, and and they just said, oh well, let's just put coats on these guys. I'm like, okay, it's literally the same pants, literally the same guys. They just put on a jacket. It's like Clark Kent and Superman, right? Did he take off his glasses and now he's a Rebel Commando? I don't know. But no, they look pretty good. But we're also getting other reprints. Basically, everything's getting reprinted. There's going to be Heroes of the Rebellion character expansion. This is going to have Commander Luke. It's going to have Jedi Luke, Chewie, Han, and Leia. New sculpts of all of these. These look good. Look really good. And I like that version of Luke they went with. They talked a lot about the design, the decisions to kind of go with, a slightly more, and it matches, Luke kind of got a glam up a little bit. He's a little better Commander Luke, at least. And some of these other guys, we haven't seen updates on all of them. Like Jedi Luke we haven't seen his update yet. I don't think we've seen Chewie get an update yet. But Han and Leia, I've seen little bits. Leia got a whole new upgrade card. Han's had little changes, over the past couple of years. So he's improved a little bit too. Plus certain keywords that are on them have changed. So these characters are always evolving, but these look like great models. I'm surprised that the Darth Vader and General Veer's character expansion is going to have these two. This is yet another model for Darth Vader. So Vader's got a lot of models, although I do think it's possible that Luke is going to overtake Vader with total number of models after this one, because he's got 2 new sculpts, whereas Vader just has 1 new sculpt, although presumably they may redo the operative Vader. I don't know. They didn't talk about this, at least that I have heard yet, and they may have talked about it in an interview or something since, but I'm curious if they're going to do a separate operative Vader expansion, or if this Darth Vader and General Veers is going to have both Commander and operative Vader. Because that's really what's going to set like the highest model count for an existing miniature out there. Is Vader's got a lot. He's got a lot of different. There's a lot of Vaders out there, and while there's also a lot of Lukes out there. I think the fact that there's different Vaders is a bigger deal, because he's kind of the same. He doesn't change costumes really, which marketing probably wishes, like, man, I wish we had like more Vaders. I wish Vader could have done, I'm gonna wear my bright pink helmet in this scene, so they could have had more action figures. All right, we've got some other cool stuff. The clone infantry unit. Again, if you guys have been paying attention, phase 1 and phase 2 clones are no longer a thing. It's just clone infantry. So you're going to be able to have different helmets in this one. You're going to have phase 1 helmets. You're going to have phase 2 helmets. You're going to have non-helmeted options. You're going to have, clone troopers have seen a whole bunch of changes. Also, certain heavies that went in your phase 1 and phase 2 clones are no longer there. So, like, your long range is going to end up being in a clone marksman unit, which is this whole separate unit that's going to be coming. Ahsoka is finally coming to the Republic. And they are doing a good thing here and giving you 2 versions. It's Commander Ahsoka and Padawan Ahsoka. You're going to get young and even younger versions of Ahsoka, which is excellent. And they're not going to put them in 2 separate boxes, so you don't have to buy 2 separate expansions. I love it. I think it's great. One of the things that we're seeing a lot of here is that we're seeing a lot of characters have more than 1 character in an expansion pack. And I think that's a very good thing. One of the problems that has been kind of an issue over the past, couple of years is store shelf space being at a premium. Look at Marvel Crisis Protocol. How many 1-character expansions do you have? And they have like over 100 expansions, like 120 expansions now or something like that. It's hard to keep everything in stock. And so if you have like 2, 3, 4, or 5 characters in one box, then that, again, you put them all on a sprue. It can be a smaller box. But if you were to break them all up individually, it would be a lot more shelf space. So I like it. There's the clone marksman. So your DLP gun is going to be in there, and so all your longer range clones. This one seems weird because it's like, okay, well, it's still but it's not phase 1 and phase 2 here. They're a different specialty. We didn't get a preview of the unit card on these guys, but they're going to be a little bit more longer range clones. Be curious to see what new tricks these guys get. Imperial probe droids are finally coming and will presumably be in Blizzard Force, but they didn't outright state that yet, that I've heard. But again, there are other cards that are coming and adding into existing battle forces, so it seems to be that these guys will be available for Blizzard Force. This one was a no-brainer. The biggest shock about the Imperial probe droids is that they're using the clear flight stands, which I was like, wait, that's like so much of like are those like leftover Imperial assault flight stands because they look like them. I'm shocked that AMG is using clear flight stands, and at the same time, I'm fine with it. It does mean that these guys are going to be a pain in the butt to paint. You might want to actually like paint these on the sprue a little bit. Although fortunately, it's not a whole lot of color options here. They're pretty much gunmetal, right? They're pretty much black. Or metallic black. So, you can probably paint them on the sprue and be fine. Or put some tape around that stand. The problem is with those legs going all the way around there, if you put tape on the stand and then spray it and then try to pull the tape off, you might have a tricky time. So that's going to be a fun, challenging project. I recommend this one is one you may want to consider painting on a sprue. Imperial High Command. This one has me really excited. We're getting a new sculpt for Krennic. He's got a hat on. But we're getting 3 all-new Imperial officers that I did not think we were going to see anytime soon. I did expect Thrawn eventually, though. So we're getting Thrawn, then Krennic, then Grand Moff Tarkin, and then General Tag. Tarkin and Tag are a huge surprise. Thrawn, I'm delighted to see. I'm glad they went with the classic version of Thrawn, even though the version we see on the ground, he's wearing the helmet and looks atypical for Thrawn. So I'm glad they went with a recognizable Thrawn. I love this pack. Also want to showcase Krennic a little bit. He's doing this. I don't know if he's holding a peace sign, but if this is the sculpt that he ends up with, how many people are going to put a cigarette or a cigar in his hand? I can't wait to see. When they give you like a easily moddable dude, I know it's going to happen. Because he looks almost like he's smoking. He's like, yeah, Jester's done. I'm getting a raise. I'm sure Tarkin's going to love it when he sees it, right? I mean, it's crazy. And mounted commanders. We're getting mounted commanders. This is a big deal. Not just commanders, probably, but mounted characters. Mounted heroes, mounted anything, potentially. Also, shout out to Star Wars Armada. We finally get some Lucre Hulk art. Once it doesn't matter anymore, right? The Lucre Hulk art. And then the transports, the B-1 droid carrying transports, those would be really cool too. Again, you can't always go with background art to justify stuff. Although you can in the case of Gungans. Because Gungans were featured in 3 separate pieces of background art. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Gungans, but while they didn't specifically announce Gungans, Gungans are basically confirmed right now. Basically, I just think they probably weren't ready yet for preview. Though we'll definitely see them at Adepticon for sure. Because they're all over the art, so of course they're coming. I mean, like multiple places. There's some pieces that only featured Gungans, so yeah, they're definitely coming. But that'll be a whole nother video. We're gonna talk more about Gungans later. There's another piece of art that came out after showing Grievous on his bike here, and it was like the full art piece that also has the Magna Guard on their bike. So this kind of raises some questions on how they're going to do mounted heroes. Now, I often reference a game called Rune Wars Miniatures game, which had a really cool mounted commander sort of feature that had, you could have your commander get down off of the mount. And then, so like you could start off mounted and you could eventually dismount. I don't know if they're going to do that. Like it works because you've already got Grievous. You could be like, oh, okay, Grievous here. And then you have the other mini and then he starts out mounted. He can dismount. It could be a whole thing. But then I don't know if they're going to do that for Magna Guards or are they going to just create this as its own unit type. Like if you take Grievous on the bike, that means you're not taking Grievous on the ground. And then this is the bike version is what Grievous has. Same thing with the Magna Guards. Or are they going to let anybody who's driving a vehicle disembark? If so, how are they going to approach the scout troopers that are on the bikes? I wonder, but again, they're reprinting those, so maybe those will come with a dismounted version. Are we going to see Luke and Leia on speeder bikes as well? We certainly could. As Leia, I think it's the only vehicle we saw Leia ride was the speeder bike, although Luke was in multiple things like Tauntauns. Yes, that is right, folks. We're getting Han and Luke. And they did confirm that these guys will be able to go into Echo-based defenders, but we're getting them on Tauntauns, which is really cool. You spy a little Wampa there in the background. I think that's just part of the flair of the art. I don't think that's confirmation that Wampas are coming, because how would that even work unless it's some new scenario, because they do have some new scenarios and things like that. Also, we'll talk about that in just a minute. We do have a timeline of all of this stuff. Again, a lot of this stuff is very far out. There's some of this stuff, that are not slated until 2026. So that's pretty far out. That's why they only had, some art to show us. But it's very exciting. Very exciting. And there's also a terrain pack, which coming in Q1, which I don't really care about. But yes, there's if you needed more barricades, I guess that's a thing. All right, so there was also a little more outside of product. They're talking about some new modes, a lot of print and play stuff. There's this alternate way to play where you kind of get rid of, you play with these alternate cards instead of a normal game. Now, this isn't necessarily like a tournament. This isn't like official stuff, although they hinted that, a place could run a tournament with these, but these are like, they're all really weird. And I don't really like these sort of narrative scenarios that AMG puts together. One of them has you like on Bespin or some other flying base, and you just anybody can get like jump 2 and speed 3, and like they're taking a tube, like one of these little transport tubes, and coming out somewhere else. It's very weird because certain units that makes them completely broken. Imagine if Palpatine is just like, oh, I can just zip all over the battlefield. I don't even have to burn force speed. You know, there's a lot of weird things like that. I also talked a little bit about Spec Ops. If you guys aren't familiar with Spec Ops, I don't talk about it very much because again, it's all PDF, it's all print and play stuff. So it just has this sort of homebrew feel to it because they don't have any physical product for it. But they're doing Ewoks, and they're doing Mandalorian Super Commandos, which does mean they're bringing Spec Ops also to the Shadow Collective, which is pretty cool. And we talked about art spoiling things. They gave us, there are multiple cards. There's some that are, the Super Commando specific. There's some that are Shadow Collective specific, more generic ones. And I really like this generic one here for Ruthless. It's got Savage Opress on there leading some Black Sun, which I hope is a sign of things to come. It looks like it is. It looks like it might be a sign of things to come. It's very exciting. Again, Spec Ops, I don't talk very much about that. It's the idea is it's sort of like a kill team or spearhead type of game where you get a bunch of like scout troopers or stormtroopers or whatever, and each one of them is its own unit, and you just have like 5 guys go up against 5 guys or something like that. I really think that they should make a Spec Ops starter box that gives you all the cards for all of the Spec Opses that are out there right now, because it's a whole preset list. Like there's no list building, because I think it's a great quicker game, a great way to maybe introduce somebody into core concepts of Legion, even though a lot of the rules are different. But I think people needed a product that you can point to. Oh, pick up a starter. It's going to have some dice. It's going to have some range tools. It's going to have, it's going to have things that you need to get started playing, as well as the cards. Not everybody wants to start, an intro or tutorial version of Legion with print and play mechanics. So I think that they should do that. Hopefully they will. There's a lot of card packs and more stuff that was talked about that will be coming out next year when the new 2.0 is kind of complete. I don't know if they'll bump it up to like 3.0. Officially, the rulebook says this is version 2.6, which makes no sense for them to jump from 2.5 to 2.6 with such a massive undertaking. I think they should have, well, maybe next year when they put out the second half of it, they'll just bump it up to 3.0 and just leave it there. I think that would make the most sense, get everybody on the same sheet of music, and admit that it is, in fact, a new edition. Nothing wrong with that. I hate the ambiguity of what we're calling it. And because it's clearly a whole new edition, and to say that it's not is weird. I don't know. I need to get over that. It's just one of those things I can't let go. All right, guys. Well, that's a quick look at all of the new stuff that is coming over the next 12 to 15 months or so. And it's going to be a pretty exciting time. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. The spice must flow. And always wash your socks.